In his unique and historic New York City office, we sit down with the great Paul Simon only on the Game 365. Out of all those records in there, is there one that's closest to your heart? There's a lot of records in there, by the way.
I think I could come down to like 4 or 5 songs.
Some might say he's equal parts a philosopher, poet, and musician. But maybe more so, Paul Simon is an American icon. As you might expect from a figure once designated by Time magazine as one of 100 people who shaped the world, Simon's office is filled with tokens of his dynamic life. Perhaps surprisingly, the entrance is a shrine to America's pastime. You got Babe Ruth up there, DiMaggio, Mantle, Derek Jeter, Jackie Robinson, Thurman Munson. If you were to pick one, and you didn't know
my favorite Yankee is not up here.
Who's that?
Take a guess.
Favorite Yankee. Favorite Yankee.
When you never saw him play, I'll give you a hint.
I'm sure you didn't see Babe Ruth play.
No.
Okay, Lou Gehrig?
That's it. Mantle would be, he'd be second. I remember the first game that I ever went to when I was, I guess, 8 or 9 or something. My dad took me to Yankee Stadium, and DiMaggio hit a home run, which I didn't see. I couldn't see because, we were in the left field bleachers, and like everybody stands up, but I'm like an 8-year-old, so like I can't see anything, So, and then my dad picks me up, puts me on the seat, and I just remember seeing him, trotting around third base into home. I was really, just really into the team the way, kids are at a certain age where they know everything. They don't know all the stats, and you collect baseball cards. And we used to trade baseball cards. Did you do this?
Oh, sure.
We trade them. We used to flip them.
Flip them.
Then there was like a game where you shot it again, whoever could get it closest to the wall. Mm-hmm. I was talking about this with Lorne Michaels, who's the producer of Saturday Night Live. Lorne said, yeah, we used to do it and shoot it closest to the wall. He said, I could beat everybody at that. I said, that's funny that you say that because I happen to be the best in the world at shooting that. And we had to go out and buy a pack of baseball cards somewhere and get, find a wall and, see who was.
Just think if we saved all those cards. A lifelong Bronx Bombers fan, Simon has witnessed much success on the field and had the chance to see many greats play in pinstripes. The one he is most often associated with is Joe DiMaggio, who he mentioned in the Simon and Garfunkel hit and Grammy-winning song, Mrs. Robinson.
After the record came out and it was a big hit, I happened to be in a restaurant, and there he was. I gathered up my nerve to go over and, introduce myself and say, I am the guy who wrote, Mrs. Robinson. Oh, yeah, man, sit down, Why'd you say that? Hey, Joe, where have you gone? He said, I'm here. Everybody knows I'm here. I said, well, I don't mean it that way. I sort of mean it like, where are these great heroes now? That kind of thing, So he was pleased because I had heard that at first he didn't know if I was making fun of him or pulling some hippie move. He was a pretty conservative guy, but I wasn't,
I know when I did a game with him, I had the luxury of doing a New York Yankee Oakland A game with him in the late 70s, early 80s. He and Mel Allen, and I asked him about your song. At that time, you had already talked to him.
Yeah.
So he said he was flattered.
Yeah.
By it.
I think he was flattered when he understood. When he understood that it was meant to be flattering. Can you imagine just the irony of it? I write this line, I don't know where it comes from, about a ball player who I know is really famous, but he's not my favorite guy, and I end up, number one, writing one of the main obituaries in the Times for him, and then singing this song in center field in Yankee Stadium. I mean, our attachment was so powerful because of that song. And really, I mean, I had no, it's just fortuitous for both of us, you know, that happened. So to go back to that, I have no idea why I said, "Where have you gone, Joe DiMaggio?" I have no idea where it came from or why it would belong in Mrs. Robinson. I just thought it was an interesting line and I was going to keep it, you know. The lines come to me quite often. I have no idea why or where. I wasn't a big Joe DiMaggio fan. I was a Mickey Mantle fan. DiMaggio is like my father's generation.
What do you think made Mantle special?
So first of all, he was a good-looking, you know, all-American guy. He seemed to be able to hit 500-foot home runs, and he was so fast he could beat out an infield hit. He was everything.
Even his name.
And his name was perfect. Yeah, he had the perfect baseball name.
What was he like to do the music video with?
Well, you know, that's many years later, you know.
Yeah.
Many, many years later. Oh, he was fun to do it with. He was fun. He arrived at the shoot, let's say he wasn't quite over the night before. For me, it was just great fun, you know, because shooting a video on me and Julio down by the schoolyard. It wasn't the only time I met him. I met Mantle once on the Dick Cavett show. We were talking, because he said to me, "How come you wrote Where Have You Gone, Joe DiMaggio? I mean, you know, why don't you write about me?" You know, wrong amount of syllables. That's what it is, just that.
Simon was known by the Mick and many other Yankees, but at least one wasn't as familiar with the acclaimed artist after he sang Mrs. Robinson in center field at Joe DiMaggio Day.
Zudo's sitting there and he says, "Come over, he wants him to meet," what's his wife's name? You know,
Cora.
Cora. So okay. So he says, "Well, now you'll be in history because you sang this thing with Joe DiMaggio." You know, I think, you know, yeah, I'm already in history.
That's exactly right. Screw didn't know.
Yeah, he didn't know. And I had to go pick up my kid at a birthday party. So I said, "My son, he's at a birthday party. I gotta leave." So Phil says, "You can leave? You didn't even eat any of this chicken." I said, "Well, actually, I'm a vegetarian." He says, "A vegetarian? Holy cow!" I'm like, this is so perfect.
Can't help but wonder where I'm bound. That's next in the Game 365.
The Game 365 is brought to you by Hager. Hager, real style, legendary quality since 1926.
Paul Simon spent most of his childhood in New York City, the borough of Queens. His music success story began alongside Art Garfunkel in the group Tom and Jerry. They released a hit, My Schoolgirl, while they were still in high school.
I mean, at a very young age, I realized I can be very successful with this.
No.
No?
Never occurred to me. I mean, I don't think, back then anyway, I don't know, maybe kids think it now. When you're 15, 16 years old, you don't think. Basically, I was thinking about girls, rock and roll, and baseball. And essentially, I haven't stopped thinking about those three things since then.
You had a hit record in high school, and you were playing on the high school baseball team.
Yeah.
What was this like for you?
Oh, I was a pretty popular guy. But it was cool. And his coach, he keeps writing to me over the years. In fact, we went to a Yankee game together like a couple of years ago. He was in great shape too. He was 84, in great shape. But he said to me once, I was like doing a talent show with Art Garfunkel at the school, you know, and missed the baseball practice. And man, he was mad at me. He said, "Look, you're going to have to make up your mind. Either you're going to go and like Like, be a singer, or you're going to take baseball seriously. I want to see you, like, giving up baseball practice, go sing, you know, with some guy. I'm sorry.
Thankfully, Simon stuck with music. For his work in Simon and Garfunkel, Paul won 11 Grammy Awards.
How did you guys get together, Eddie?
We lived 3 blocks apart.
But all of a sudden, you saw him in a talent show, and then next thing you know, the world knows about these two guys.
Well, it's not the next thing you know. First, we went through junior high school, and then we became friends, and we started to sing together. You know, then we started to, like, learn how to sing harmony by imitating the Everly Brothers, you know. Then we get to high school. We write this song, and the guy says, I'd like to record it, and he records our song, and the song becomes a hit. So, like, we were like 16 years old, 15, going on to 16, and we have a hit in New York anyway. It was like a top 10 hit in New York. You know, then we went on American Bandstand, so, I mean, we were really pretty famous in our high school. So that's how we knew each other. And then we graduated. We went to different colleges and didn't link up until after we graduated. You know, by then I was writing different things. You know, by then I'd already written, or maybe was just about to write, The Sound of Silence.
How did that come about?
Well, boy, that's a good question. I have no idea.
A Most Peculiar Man. That's next in the Game 365. It has been said imitation is the best form of flattery. For Paul Simon, that has been mostly true.
What's it like to have somebody, after you make a mega hit, somebody else sings it?
You know, it depends. Like Aretha Franklin did a version of Bridge Over Troubled Water that's as good as the one that Simon and Garfunkel made. Very different, but it's as good as it. So that's a big thrill, you know. On the other hand, Elvis Presley sang Bridge Over Troubled Water, and Elvis Presley was one of, you know, I'd say, like, after Mickey Mantle, it was Elvis Presley who was my idol.
It's amazing.
You know?
Yeah.
And so here he is finally singing one of my songs. You know, I never met him, Presley, but I went to see him sing it. And I thought, he just copied our arrangement. I thought he should have sung it his way, not sung the Simon and Garfunkel arrangement way. Because like Aretha totally changed it. She made it Aretha's version. And he could have as well, but he didn't, so that was a little disappointing.
You saw him sing a song.
Yeah, it was at Madison Square Garden.
And you know what somebody out there is saying? They're amazed you didn't meet him that night.
Yeah, I didn't go back.
Why?
You know, I think because I didn't like it. I didn't want to go, and I didn't know what to say.
That's funny.
I should have gone. Just to say, you know, I met Elvis Presley. But, you know, I was already at a point, if I had been 14 years old and he had done it, or 15 or 16, whatever it was when I was crazy about Elvis Presley. But by then I was 28 years old, and I was just a musician then. You know, you didn't knock me out. It doesn't matter to me whether you're Elvis Presley. I didn't care then. By then, I didn't think he was good. I thought he was great when he was at Sun Records. And then I can listen to that stuff still, and I could still learn from that. My favorite record of all time is Mystery Train, the Elvis Presley version. And I also like the Junior Parker version, because Junior Parker wrote it. But the Elvis Presley version is my favorite record ever. And I've tried to imitate it and sing it, and I do. I sing it, and I've written songs that were based on it, like Late in the Evening is totally based on Mystery Train, totally. But by the time I was at the Bridge Over Troubled Water point, you know, and I guess it was later than that because he sang it in like 1972. By then it was, you know, you're good or you're not good. I mean, you're not good, I'm not going to go back there and say you're, I'm just not going to go through it. So I didn't. I'm sorry, I should have gone, because I could have said I met Elvis Presley, but that's why I didn't go, you know.
Simon never met the king of rock and roll, but his music did offer him the opportunity to meet another legend, Old Blue Eyes.
Frank Sinatra, he only recorded one song of mine too. He recorded Mrs. Robinson. And they changed the lyrics of Mrs. Robinson without asking permission. And when I heard the song, and I was not a big Frank Sinatra fan, I said, you can't change the lyric without my permission. So, like I notified the record company, you can't put that out. And some guy from the record company called me and said, please don't do this, man. This is it's my fault. I should have checked and all that. Please don't do this. I'm going to lose my job. I got a wife and family and all that. And I said, oh, okay, put it out. So I figured, well, he doesn't like me, Sinatra. And then the day after Simon and Garfunkel played Central Park, I went to see him play at Carnegie Hall, and I couldn't get over how great he was. I mean, really, it's a cliche, but I was blown away. I had no idea that he was a genius like that, no idea. And then I went back, to meet him after the show, and he was as charming as could be, absolutely perfectly, no mention of Mrs. Robinson, nothing like that. And just as nice as could be. And so I can say I met Frank Sinatra once.
Slip sliding away. That's next on the Game 365.
The Game 365 is brought to you by Hager. Hager, real style, legendary quality since 1926.
Simon and Garfunkel released their first album in 1964, and the duo would complete 5 more before they broke up at the apex of their popularity in 1970. Apparently, the two had a few disagreements, baseball among them.
Do you like baseball the way you like it?
Well, yes and no. First of all, he's a Phillies fan.
That's a problem for you.
Not for me, It was typical Artie, though. I'd say to him, how can you be a Phillies? Come on, man. A Phillies fan? I mean, you're in New York, So he explains, it's just typical Artie thinking. I can't stand the Yankees. They're like these rich guys who, they're like look down on everyone. I don't really feel like I want to be a Dodgers fan. And the Giants, I don't know what he had against the Giants. And also he kind of had an inclination to do a strange thing. So he chose the Phillies, but he's a Phillies fan. He's like a deep Phillies fan.
On the other hand, Paul Simon, born a week after the New York Yankees won their 9th World Series title in 1941, almost seems destined to root for the Bronx Bombers.
Joe Torre has this Safe at Home Foundation. Yes. He asked me to play it a few years ago, and I was sitting at a table with Yogi Berra, who's just extraordinary. He's completely the same with everybody.
Yes, he is.
Like there's no nothing, That's just who he is. Just perfectly happy to get into a conversation with whoever sits down. So I start to ask him about ball players that I remember from, this era or that era, like I'd say, what happened to Andy Carey? He'd say, oh, Andy Carey, oh yeah, I saw him. He had a stroke, he's like in a wheelchair now. I say, oh, really? What about Billy Johnson? Oh, Billy Johnson. Oh, he's gone. I said, I'm not going to ask him about this. I don't know what I'm asking about these guys who are all like 87, 80, 89 years old. Like, what am I going to hear, Oh, he's doing great,
Yeah, right.
Berra won the most World Series rings of any player with 10, but Simon is no slouch when it comes to recognition. He received a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award as a member of Simon & Garfunkel and has been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, both as a group member and a solo artist.
When you sat down to write music, what motivated you? What started it all?
I love the music I was hearing on the radio. I was listening to Alan Freed on the radio. And I just fell in love with rhythm and blues and doo-wop, So my dad was a musician. I asked him to teach me the chords to the songs. He'd teach me the chords. He bought me a guitar, and I play the songs. So I mean, I guess this is what's unusual is like, then I wrote a song with Artie, you know, and he was the most famous kid in the neighborhood for singing. He had a gorgeous voice as a kid. Well, he had a gorgeous voice, you know, most of his career. It's a really exceptional voice. I mean, he was like the best singer in the neighborhood. In fact, he was the only singer in the neighborhood, you know. And
Besides you.
No, I decided to do it because I saw him on a stage at some talent show in junior high school or public school, 6th grade or something. There was such a fuss about him that I said, hey, I wonder if I could do that. You know, so I started to sing, and you know, I could do it, but I mean, he really had a great voice and was famous.
People watching us, if they want to be a songwriter, is it a learned thing? Is it a natural thing? Is it, what exactly is it?
It's both. It's both, you know. I mean, you could take a ball player, or you take a batter, and the guy can crush a ball over the fence, and then throw a curveball and he can't hit it, and you say, you know, because this is what you're doing. You know, you have a natural ability, but you have to learn this and that. Otherwise, you won't maximize your natural ability. So I think that's whatever it was with me. I had a natural ability to write songs when I was young that people liked, and then the longer I was in it, and I would learn, you know, as anybody would if you keep doing something. I learned about songwriting. I studied. You know, I studied harmony, I studied guitar.
Now, all these guys out here, if they saw all those records in there, they would, you know what they'd say?
They'd be impressed.
I'd like to do that.
Well, Bernie does.
Oh, sure. Well, a lot of guys would like to do it. Bernie has talent.
Yeah, Bernie's really talented.
Out of all those records in there, is there one that's closest to your heart? There's a lot of records in there, by the way.
I think I can come down to like 4 or 5 songs that I think are really.
What would they be?
It would be Sound of Silence, A Boxer, Still Crazy After All These Years, Graceland, Bridge Over Troubled Water, maybe that.